Oh man, we live in some very, very strange times. Rather than coming here and talking about boxing and, talking about Tyson Fury fighting AJ or the predictions for that, I'm actually here talking about KSI versus FaZe Temperr. And I'm a big fan of the sort of influencer boxing. I think it's a lot more entertaining than most boxing fights that have been put on nowadays. The stakes aren't high enough in these fights. It's not right. Literally, somebody goes in there, either dominates or you go in there and fight like a Nigel Benn and a Chris Eubank did back in the day. Nowadays it's very, very much just it's soft and it's very diluted, and none of these big fights are really happening because of egos, money, business, etc. But I wanted to come in here and do some predictions for Misfits X Series 4. And the first fight up is Anthony Taylor versus Idris Virgo. I want to go for a quick breakdown of each of these fights. But so obviously Anthony Taylor being a smaller, slightly shorter guy, which I thought was crazy. I thought Idris Virgo was a lot bigger. He's going to have to get on the inside, make it a really rough fight. He's going to have to sort of do what he did in the last fight and dominate by being a smaller fighter, more compact Mike Tyson style on the inside, throwing big hooks to the body, throwing big hooks to the head. Idris Virgo, a lot of you won't know, he's from Love Island. That's where I actually first saw him. Was on one of my friends sent me a photo of him, and he's like, "Oh, he's a boxer." I was like, "Oh shit!" And then after that, I followed him on Instagram when I think he got kicked out. And he's actually a really slick boxer. He's very, very good. So don't be surprised if you see him with a TKO or like a really dominant, slick boxing performance. He's very, very defensively well. He moves very fast. He's very, very sharp, and he's an athlete. He looks a part of an athlete as well, but naturally and through discipline, he's a super athlete. But yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go on to the next fight: Elle Brooke versus Faith Ordway. Not expecting too much from this fight. Obviously, Faith being the taller girl, she's gonna have a lot of reach advantage. She's gonna be able to move around the ring a lot faster. Elle Brooke being a smaller girl, she's going to have to get on the inside. Same with Anthony Taylor and Idris Virgo, but the height disparity is a lot higher. She's going to have to get on the inside, rip body shots. I don't know if she can win this fight, just because being a very inexperienced boxer, it's a lot harder to get to taller opponents if you don't really know how to do it. I've struggled for a long time with this, up until when I was training recently, maybe the last a couple months before COVID, where I was actually able to get on the inside and work on the inside, being a smaller person, like a smaller man, 5'8", sparring guys who are like 6 foot, 6'2". It's a lot harder to do that. If you haven't got experience, it's very, very hard. And I do think Faith Orway probably is going to win this by decision. So the next fight up, Ryan Taylor versus Swarms. Honestly, I think Swarms is going to get either knocked out or TKO'd, or Ryan Taylor's just going to absolutely batter him. He put up a really good fight against Slim. He might have got beaten, but he showed heart, and he showed that he has a little bit of power as well. He did hurt Slim in that fight, and with extra time to train and stuff like that, he's really has that sort of that edge over Swarms, where Swarms has been there with KSI, had 2 weeks training. It's been 3 months since that. It's not a lot of things you can pick up in 3 months that would help you beat somebody who has been, from what I know, training to fight Slim beforehand. And next up is Salt Papi versus Brook. Now, this is a really interesting fight because Brook is a big guy and Salt Papi is a really skillful guy. Salt Papi is going to have to really sort of be sharp in this fight. Josh is a really big guy, so he's going to have to be slipping, throwing in good counter shots and stuff like that. And he has to really impose his dominance in this fight. He's a smaller guy, so he has to show, I'm not here to be taken lightly. I might be smaller, but it doesn't mean I don't pack as much of a punch. Josh Bruckner being the bigger guy, he's a built guy anyway, so he probably packs a bit more power naturally than some of the guys Salt Papi's faced before. So he's going to have to really impose his dominance with his jab, a hard jab to the face, bang, bang, shit down the middle. And as soon as Papi comes in, he's got to tie him up, impose his weight. He's probably going to be a lot heavier, so impose his weight, his size on Papi, tire him out, clinch him up, sort of knacker him out. And when he's on the inside especially, he needs to make sure Salt Papi can get one of those sharp right hands that he got off on Andy Warski, because they're very sharp. He might not be as big as Josh Bruckner, but if one of those lands, doesn't matter how big you are, they are seriously impactful shots. And Josh Bruckner being a bigger guy, he needs to establish that he is a bigger guy. He needs to use his range, but if Salt Papi comes in, he needs to let him know, if you come close to me, you're going to get hurt. hurt seriously. So that's what Josh Bruckner and Sal Papi need to do to win their respective fights. And then Slim versus Tom Zanetti. I haven't seen much of Tom Zanetti, but obviously what we know from Slim is in the influencer space, very unorthodox, probably one of the better guys in the space. You know, people talking about him going to fight KSI or potentially even Jake Paul eventually and stuff like that. He's very, very awkward, and if you know how to beat somebody like a Slim, it's a hard way to describe it, but you know, you have to sort of limit their awkwardness to to like the basics, like if you can throw a jab and stuff like that. The reason he beat Temperr is because Temperr couldn't keep him off him, and he throws shots from the stomach, from the hip as well, and even from the stomach area. If Temperr was tight guard and come round and threw like a hook while Slim's throwing these shots that are like this, you know, easily could have knocked him out, but Temperr didn't really have that experience. Whereas Tom Zanetti, if he can do that, when Slim puts the pressure on, he tends to let his hands come down a little bit. He tends to start throwing from the hip and stuff like that. And if you can tie up, take that punishment, and then as soon as you see an opening, throw a hook, you know, it's very, very devastating. And I think if Tom Zanetti can capitalise on the things that Slim, you know, he's not as proficient in, especially his defence. He's been hurt by Ryan Taylor, who's not, from what I know, a really experienced boxer. You know, I think he's a good chance to win this fight. In my opinion, from what I've seen, I think I'm picking Slim because I can't really say anything about Tom Zanetti. But I won't be surprised if it's a 50-50 fight in some people's eyes. Tom's a big guy. He's got a lot of muscle. He's very filled out. Slim's obviously the smaller, slimmer guy, but for some reason he's, you know, making that sort of that weight as well. But yeah, I'm picking Slim just because I know what Slim can do and I don't know what Tom Zanetti can do. I hope it's a really good fight. And then obviously the main event, KSI versus Temperr. This is a really interesting fight. I've heard loads of opinions from people. I've heard Temper's going to batter him, KSI's going to batter him, he's going to So I think I'm going to come in here and say the record now. I think this fight either goes two ways, generally, in my opinion. I think KSI either, you know, outworks Temperr and either gets a TKO or wins the fight on a dominant decision, or Temperr can keep KSI at bay for the full fight, use his jab, use his range. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think that's the way he wins his fight. He's not really going to hurt KSI. He's been hurt by Logan Paul, gone on to finish the fight strong. I don't think Temperr has that sort of Logan Paul size or power. He might be a bigger guy height-wise, but if you look at when KSI stood next to Temperr versus when he stood next to Logan Paul, he was like, oh shit, like Logan Paul is massive compared to him. Whereas even though Temper's taller, you don't go, you know, he's that much bigger than him in terms of mass and size. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about is, you know, KSI has been used to fighting somebody like Logan who probably come into that fight 20, 25 pounds heavier than him. And look what he did, he managed to dominate him. If Temperr comes in a similar sort of weight at KSI, it's not really going to be, in terms of physicality, a hard matchup for him. I think this fight goes in KSI's favour either by a TKO or a dominantly paced fight by KSI. Like, he just goes in there from round 1 till round 6 or round 8, depending on what it is, and Temperr never has a chance to sort of impose his size or his style on KSI. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. I do actually like doing these sort of breakdown for fights and stuff like that, so I might do more. Obviously this was a quick one and I ain't got time to sit here for 13-14 minutes talking about each individual fight for like 2 or 3 minutes at a time. I have to go to work, but yeah, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a good rest of your day and take care.